Okay, so I guess this is the first of the, like post-week reviews and stuff. Not using the snowball, just on my headset right now because it's Daytona. I don't expect to go very in depth other than the 500 and stuff because that's mainly the thing I want to talk about. But very quickly, these are the lineups that I ran in duel number one. It was very surprising that Chevy once again, and this isn't making excuses. I'm just saying what was seen and everything. Chevy absolutely screwed themselves over. I don't know. I don't understand the I don't understand running these races backwards like a road course, and then as soon as you get into your window of like, we can do like 36 laps on fuel. As soon as you like get to lap 37 or 36, you like pit. Like I don't understand that. We saw that happen in the 500. We saw it happen in both the dual races. Like Chevys just absolutely shoot themselves in the foot on their own strategy. It makes like absolutely no sense and stuff like that. I don't believe I cashed in any of the dual one contests. No, I didn't because I was saved in duel number two. Um, I was probably a bit, at least in my opinion, probably too heavy on just place differential plays or good plays in the back. Um, Here, for this, because when we looked at duel number one, a lot of the optimals, and I'll probably still play the same fashion last or next year, but I thought Toyotas and I don't know, man. The Chevys just absolutely shot themselves in the foot. It was freaking wild. I know Stenhouse got speeding, um, and he ended up finishing 16th, a lap down. Ty Gibbs ran into issues as well. And that was really, at least for my opinion, what sunk my two lineups was Ty Gibbs because it killed these two lines, and I was very heavy on Stenhouse, and he was speeding with the Chevy Brigade, and so regardless if I had Logano or people who finished up front, like Logano, Harvick, people in this line. Let's see, McDowell even finished fifth here. Jones, part of the Chevy Brigade, finishes 12th. Zane Smith finishes eighth. Just bad choice of wanting to be on Stenhouse, but can't really do anything about. Missed him on pit lane. Duel number two. I don't remember what this one was. Um, this was so at this point I was like, all right, cool, man. We kind of threw away $60 in duel number one. I'll go ahead and make another bit of an aggressive lineup on duel number two. Try and chase more of the lap leaders and stuff. And so we correctly identified. We had a really good um, what is it? Or at least uh, looking at I think people who are going to win a lot this weekend. At least I happen to take stances on the right guys. So Logano there, Almirola here. I know for a fact I got my money back from duel number one and then some here. And I realized that hey, I think the Chevys are gonna maybe shoot themselves in the foot. I still want to be high on the Fords. I want to try and focus primarily on the Fords and stuff. And when we look at the last two um, contests here, or last two lineups, the main difference between the construction for duel number one and construction for duel number two was just we just happened to end up playing more of the more expensive guys. And actually, in these lineups, you had to really consider where you wanted to go. Otherwise, you couldn't afford it. So, a main issue that I was having when I was constructing lineups was that I wanted to have Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin in lineups, and it was very difficult to do that with salary constraints. And so, walking through at least these couple lines, I was like, all right, I want Denny Hamlin, I want Chase Elliott for sure. As we progressed and started chasing more, at least more Eric Almirola, I had to sacrifice one of the more expensive guys. So in this one, I did Keselowski. This one, I sacrificed Hamlin. But this was very, very close on salary constraints in here, and I think that kind of made this duel a bit more fun, just due to the fact that at least all the people that you wanted to play, just end up being expensive. Anyway, moving on trucks, we got absolutely rocked. We got blitzkrieged. We got absolutely we got fucked. Just how it goes, as I go through and kind of track lines and stuff. And these were my ownership. And if you watch the video related to the truck, I kind of walked you through where I wanted to go with people. That's dictated by kind of like the highlighted people here. Um, I mentioned in the live show and stuff that like look most more than likely if if this race ends up going green, we're probably going to see Zane Smith and Elliott be up front for most of the race, and those guys compete for the win. People understand how I play lineups. That's just how it is. I was disappointed that Greenfield. That was my main concern, that he would be racing up front. He self spins in the tri-oval, and then Cody's involved in a race or in a wreck later. And at this point, I'm honestly not very mad because I'm just making sure these line up. I have this line here that I am really happy with. I am really super happy entering the last few laps of the race with this line here, because it's stacked from the back, ones that I want to be at. I don't have any of these. None of these guys are up front. If they get stupid and wreck and get dumb, we're gonna just gain a ton of positions here. Despite the fact, Cody, Daniel Dye, Clay Greenfield, I believe Greenfield had like 1 point, maybe 4 points, somewhere around there. Very similar to Ty Dillon in the Cup Series race. Like, that stuff doesn't kill you. When these guys wreck out, yeah, sure. At, during the race, or during as the race continues, having a 0, a -1, -2, or like 1, 2, 3 points, whatever. You understand that these lineups aren't going to be optimal, and any lineup in red here gives up the chance of taking down the contest, but it doesn't kill you. There's still a really good chance that we're going to cash. So I was ecstatic. I was so happy to have a line here that avoided just the disasters. I was so excited for this line, and then it rained, and none of these lines cash at all, just because we were gonna absolutely tear stuff up in the Truck Series race. So that was very unfortunate. Xfinity, this is really what kind of destroyed the weekend for me. Just by how I play these, at least the opening, because I have, because I shut the Patreon down in December, so I have to make savings and stuff last through the off season. It's very difficult for me to confidently just put in, $300, at least for the Daytona weekend right off the bat. I kind of like to stack, like, put money in on Thursday, roll it into Friday, roll that into Saturday, and so on and so forth. So here, this was about a $360 loss. Okay, so I'm like, all right, cool. Let's go ahead and do it again for Xfinity Series, and did 9 here, and what was that? 140, 150. I know I got like 100. Let me think. I think I put 120 or something in. I think this line is the only one that cashed. It was just an unfortunate, for me, distribution of lineups. Ryan Ellis ran into an issue. I was very happy. I was trying to focus on Gralla, Chase, and Parker, trying to be underweight on them, and I was very happy on this one. CJ, we still don't know what happened to CJ. I'm assuming either two things happen. He's running, somebody's behind him, clips him in the left rear, he hits that apron and shoots back up the outside lane out of turn 4, and then he just spins down the tri-oval, or he blows a tire, and so on and so forth. It hooks left, he overcorrects right. We don't know what happened to CJ. No idea. He destroys the car. There are cameras that caught it. There's a camera facing turn 4 down that straightaway. Even if he wrecks and hits the wall later, we still have the gain of it. They didn't catch it. Unbelievable. CJ gets involved in an accident. Ryan Ellis is involved. Just kind of unfortunate there. And then they just don't wreck. They ride the line. They're just goofing around, and then Junior. Good job. That's what Junior Motorsports deserve. Nothing but torn up race cars racing like a bunch of idiots. Anyway, let's talk about the Daytona race. I pulled up the actual ownership here, and this is mainly what I want to focus on in this little discussion here. And that is, I'm gonna bring some things from the. Let me see. I'm going to go through and kind of talk about some things we've been talking about in Discord between myself and about 5 different people here since the just kind of like Monday discussions and things like that. If you're part of the Patreon stuff, you recognize these highlighted things, and this was more so just everything that I talked about in the kind of like driver by driver, line of construction breakdown for the Daytona 500, and I will continue doing those videos, and those will live when the slates lock, because I had basically just burned through all the allocated money that I had put towards this race. I was like, well, fuck me, man. I got to go back to I have to go back to the tried and true, play the fucking back markers that nobody's going to play. Okay? And so, yes, my one lineup that I ran in the Millionaire Maker, that I ran the 44, that I ran the 33, that didn't see any green, didn't see the light of day until the very end of the race. Here, we can. Uh, Let me see. We end up scoring 216.1 laps, and this is with. I mean, check out these real quick. We have, good old Conor Daly, which as I was going through after I did the video, and then I was listening to stuff after I did the live show, and then I talked with Sheets, and then I was still kind of listening to things and debating. I was like, dude, I don't think anybody's gonna own Conor Daly, and this is purely an ownership type of slate. This is how it is. I mean, just like everything. I mean, clearly, I approach this shit the exact same way. If we wreck out, if we don't, I mean, if it rains, I never make money on rain out races, at plate races. That's just how it is. Friday was no exception. Shout out to NASCAR for calling that. But I was like, dude, ownership's going to be huge here, especially that Millionaire Maker, and I'll kind of go on a talk about what I still think people are doing wrong in the Millionaire Maker and stuff. But I was like, dude, nobody's going to play Conor Daly. I think he can. I think he can outscore people. I really do. Fuck it, I'm going to do it because everybody knows I played Derek Cope years ago in the 500 when he blew a tire and wrecked himself, and he finished dead last, and he still outscored people. Um, so I was like, all right, cool, Conor Daly, cool, 18.45 points. All right, Ty Dillon loses a motor, unfortunate for sure. Um, Negative 1.1 points because he got some fast laps in that time. All right, all right. Let's see, Cody Ware. I don't understand why people don't play Cody Ware. I don't understand it. I don't get it at all. Here, let's kind of go through these real fast. BJ is at 13.35. Herbst, which he rode. I really do believe that, or Rick Ware is telling these guys to ride because we've seen it with Reagan, we've seen it with Herbst now, we've seen it with Smithley in the past. We've seen it like these guys. These guys have the information just to ride. So I'm happy moving forward with that. And then Travis Pastrana with 64.65. This cashed in every single line. If you would have ran this, you would have been absolutely perfectly fine. My bad. This is negative 1.1. Okay, so let me bring up some stuff in Discord that we've kind of been talking about. The Millionaire Maker winner, the winning lineup, which I stated in both live shows and the Patreon video as well. It's not going to be a shocking lineup. The fact that it was A.J. Allmendinger, Suarez, Stenhouse, Kyle Busch, Pastrana, and Herbst, that shouldn't necessarily shock anybody. Like that's not a bad line. That's not a stupid line at all. Shout out to that not being duplicated. When we look at the stack from the back took it down. It was a unique lineup, no duplicates, 20th on back, like it's insane. And you could have swapped out Kyle Busch for Cody Ware, and it would have scored more points. Sorry, I'm just gonna go through things that I've stated in Discord at this point, but I can't believe it wasn't updated. It's not a crazy line. Suarez is like the craziest part of that optimal lineup. For whatever reason, people want to keep playing fucking guys who start up front. Like as I stated with Sheets and in the live show, these are dead lineups. That's just how it is. If you guys want to play them, and Sheets and I talked about this, and his approach is different than mine. As I said, mine is much more aggressive. Sheets is much more successful when it comes to this type of stuff. But it was very interesting. We ran into a question that a viewer brought up in the comments, and he asked me, what do I do? Like, do I ever X people out or whatnot? And I answered, yeah. Like in these races, I usually X out the first top 15 drivers and stuff. And then when he answered, he was like, no, I don't think you should X people out. And I like that Sheets said that, because I thought for sure he would have agreed with me, like right off the bat, saying, "Yeah, we need X people out here." But it was very interesting that he kept that in there, and then we kind of goofed around in SaberSim and got to see how like lineups are being constructed. And I stated that even on like my runs and stuff, Ryan Blaney kept being in like some of the highest projected lineups. Same thing with Chase Elliott, and we kind of debated on that, or not debated, but brought up how like optimizers and stuff will still pull. I don't know where. Excuse me. I don't exactly know what point I was trying to make. I kind of just lost my track of. I kind of just lost my train of thought. Um, anyway, I had a lot of fun just kind of hanging out with sheets and stuff for about an hour after my live show. Um, but here it is. Like these, in my opinion, these are all deadlines right off the bat. The fact that Ryan Blaney is nearly 20, what are these guys doing? This is idiotic and stupid. I don't understand at all. Even when you look back at here, and I'm gonna just say this word for word from what ACS said in Discord. But he says, "I know you preach this, but I look at the top 12 scorers instead of looking at the optimal. Nobody ever hits the optimal at plate races. If you look at the optimal, you might think you need to put a top 10 or 15 driver to win the contest. But if you look at the top 10, 12, whatever, you might see the 8th highest scoring guy score 2 to 3 less DK points than the optimal driver, but that starts in the high 20s or 30s. I think the optimal totally skews the strategy that a lot of other touts put out there, and I hope they keep doing it. It doesn't work all the time, but work often's enough. And yeah, like that's what I'm preaching. Like I fully believe, and sorry, I'm just kind of reading your message straight through ACS, but that's what I'm saying. And I even answered like, let me see. I mean, I look like a dumbass, me personally. I look like a dumbass when I'm like on Friday. I'm like, yeah, dude, these lines are free money, and then the fucking race rains out and none of these cash. But the fact that all you need is just that one wreck, which we got in the 500, even with some of my guys, being laps down, not even taking advantage of that final accident, compared to the ownerships, like it makes no sense at all. Um, what else did I say here? Let me see. What did I mention? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where did I say this? Oh yeah, so this is kind of my opinion. Like people are chasing the optimal that doesn't exist. Like clearly it exists, but people are chasing a thing that it is so impossible to land on in terms of optimal and winning scoring lineups. Yet again, we're gonna see people look back at the optimal when we go to Talladega, when we go to Daytona in the fall, Atlanta. I'm still on the fence about that, but we look at the bigger plate races, and it's going to be like, well, the last 6 races we've had an optimal driver start in the top 17. I think that's the wrong way to approach it. Then yes, this is a small instance of that. Like you don't do this at any other track, but this is where you actively look. In my opinion, you look at the optimal and be like, I don't want to chase that. I want to chase guys that are going to score well. Like who cares about the optimal lineup? Truly, who cares about it at plate races? Just play guys from the back, in my opinion. And when we look specifically at ownership, when we get to this point here, let me see. I got to go through. Um, Bixby mentioned that he was in a 25-person qualifier. 19 people played Kyle Busch in that. He was the only one who played Ware and one of 3 that played Herbst. Like, uh, I think that the fact that we had so many big names between 23rd and 31st starting, it did push the ownership and attention a little bit farther up from the back of the field. But the fact that BJ wasn't played, the fact that Conor Daly, yes, I understand. Like, I'm saying this as somebody who played him, and I'm saying this as somebody who identified all the reasons why you don't want to play him. Even in my video, I was like, look, that car's rough. Fucking, he lost. He didn't have a fucking mirror for the whole race. But look, in these situations, like he is starting 34th. Very similar to Ty Dillon. Worst case scenario, they finish last. What did Ty Dillon score? He scored -1 point. Do you know how many people that beat? When we look at, like, Ty Dillon was not the lowest scoring driver. Conor Daly, BJ McLeod were not the lowest scoring drivers. Okay? People are playing, and I mean, this is kind of what is it? I think people are just playing just I think people are still playing this by names. I really do. It absolutely blows my brain. I think it's just like Kyle Busch, Ty Dillon, Riley Herbst, Cody Ware, Conor Daly. Who has the best name here? It's Kyle Busch. People recognize him. Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Busch. People are going to go to Kyle Busch. Travis Pastrana starting dead last. Like, I don't understand this at all. I don't understand this 12 ownership at all. Regardless of not, like, car alone, good car. Name alone, I thought it would have drawn more attention. Like, even Jimmy at 31, excuse me? Why was that not higher? What, like, what? Stenhouse, Briscoe, like, what? What is going on here? Why is Hamlin at 33% starting 18th? Based on history? Like, what are we doing? You know? Um, my main takeaway this morning was when I was in Discord and kind of looking at the stuff is like Ty Dillon comes in around 20th, around he's at 18%. What's dictating that? Like, what's dictating that aspect in this type of race? Because I think he should have been higher. I really do, despite the fact he scored quote unquote poorly. He should have been higher. And I don't know what's dictating that more. Results should have pushed his ownership up higher, because when you look at his results, they are. Let me pull them up real fast. Let me pause this. Let me get this. All right, so when we look at this here, results in and of itself should have pushed Ty Dillon to be higher owned. I don't get it. I don't understand it all. When we like, he's been optimal 3 times, and this is specifically like, I'd never enter weeks being like, how many times has this man been optimal? But looking like back, reverse engineering what ownership should be and what should dictate it, this is where you have to look at these type of aspects more than other things. Like, you would, in my opinion, you don't look at this before the week, but if you're reverse engineering why ownership or why drivers should be played, this is the point of time when you focus on how many times they've been optimal, what their track history is, blah blah blah. Ty Dillon, he's been optimal 3 times. When we look back at him in the back half, or in the back markers, he's one of only 3 drivers who have been optimal here. So that should have, I mean, Jimmy Johnson's been optimal, but like, 3 times, 4 times with Kyle Busch, 3 times with Stenhouse. That should automatically, if people are using, quote unquote, oh, my formula, oh, my optimizer, my, what else do they say? Uh, Whatever thing they run, that should pop off there. The second thing is when we look at his finishes at Atlanta and Daytona, even plate rating. When we look back here, I'm gonna take Atlanta off the screen because I'm telling you, I don't like using Atlanta right now. Um, but when you look back at here, his top 20 ranks, his plate averages. Like, this is something I hear a lot in videos. Well, his plate ranking is 14th. When we look back at his average finishes, we're gonna see Ty Gibbs. I mean, not Ty. We're gonna see Ty Dillon normally finish around 18th. He's ranked 14th in all drivers. This should have pushed him up higher. Now, thirdly, we look back at his finishes at Talladega, and we look back at his finishes at Daytona, and I told Sheets this. This is the main reason why I brought Ty Dillon up when he asked me who is the one guy that we should probably focus on more, and I wanted, everybody knows I want to say Ware, I want to say Herbst. I'm trying to actually, like, just not say the same name every single time. But looking at these statistics, and this is why I answered Sheets in that time, all these numbers here should have pushed his ownership up to be way higher than 18%. I do not understand this at all. This makes zero sense. If people are playing this smartly, this makes absolutely no sense why he should be at 18%. So my hypothesis and my idea was the names around him pushed his ownership down. And I know I'm using Ty Dillon for this example, but this applies to Cody Ware, this applies to Herbst, this applies to Travis Pastrana, and even Jimmy Johnson. Okay? Because Jimmy should have been higher, Kyle Busch should have been higher. A lot of these numbers should have been higher, and they were spread out due to the fact that we had so many names around them. People, like, I'm telling you, I just want to grab everybody listening to this and just shake and be like, just play drivers from the back, play the low-owned guys in the back, play ownership in the back. That's all that you have to do here. Okay, let me see. I mean, it's been this it's been this way for a while. Like if somebody's next to them and they're just a little bit better than them and they have a better name, people are going to go to them. Like Travis Pastrana versus Jimmy Johnson, like direct head to head. Jimmy Johnson, Travis Pastrana, Riley Herbst, Jimmy Johnson. Ty Dillon, Kyle Busch, Cody Ware, Kyle Busch. Conor Daly, Ty Gibbs, BJ, Ty Gibbs. Stenhouse, Chase Briscoe, AJ, Chase Briscoe. Like I don't. It's insane, man. It's insane how this is happening. It really is. Like the optimizers are going to push people with good history, and I think it's more good recent history than anything else. And then like if you're hand building, or most people that are hand building, you're just going to focus on like the good names and stuff. Like or like clicking the guys who have like proven previously that they could do something recently. So that's how you end up with Johnson at 31%. That's how you end up with Travis at 12. That's how you end up with Hamlin at, like I said, Hamlin's at freaking 13. You have William Byron at 19. Like these ownerships make no sense because this is free. You're paying the rake. These ownerships make no sense because you're not playing this game mathematically the way you should if you're playing for a wreckfest, if you're playing for races that are gonna end up destroying the field. you know. And yeah, I mean it was a bit rough because BJ lost fucking brakes right around like lap. He started reporting it around lap 80. I think he went into the garage to fix it, and then thank God they wrecked about 4 laps later. So BJ only went about 8 laps down. Conor Daly kept getting lapped just because he was slow, but you know it's insane. Travis Pastrana went almost 2 laps down, got the lucky dog, and kept passing people whenever they would wreck and stuff. But this ownership is so fucking crazy, man. It makes no sense, and it reiterates and reinforces to me that for every series, but for the Cup Series specifically, especially in the sense of where people are going to say, quote unquote, "Oh, there's no back markers in this race. Oh, there's no slow cars in this race." Just play the bad names. Play the people that people aren't going to play. It's insane. And one thing that I guess it's gonna go if they keep focusing on fucking results and stuff. But like, where is BJ being bad? It's, Summer Daytona 2020, he finishes last. He is gaining positions in every single one of these races because BJ is going to start outside the top 30 in these races. Okay, Dega 31st, 33rd. These are races that have gone green. But is BJ losing you any positions? Is Cody Ware losing you any positions? Like, truly, wow, he's lost positions there. Wow, he had his first ever spring race at Daytona. He got involved in a wreck. Where else is Cody Ware missing? Where else is he not doing well? Okay, what people are looking at are these stupid plate rankings. Cody Ware ranking terrible, so they're not going to play him. BJ McLeod ranking terrible, so they're not going to play him. Open your eyes, people. Just play people in the back. Play ownership in the back. Play the low owned plays in the back. Anyway, that's what I did. I did that in every single line. Didn't see green till the last lap. If it goes green, we lose it. I'm fine with that. But these ownerships just boggled my brain. Absolutely boggled my brain. Anyway, thank you for sitting here and listening. If you guys, this is plate racing during actual races or during actual race or during actual race weeks. We'll go over and look at more things and kind of look at lap by lap data going through stuff. But just for the 500 ownership, still this year made no sense. At this point I don't think people are going to ever adjust to playing guys from the back because they hear touts and they read articles being like, well, you want to play guys from the back but not really. And I will fucking go to my grave saying just stack the back. I don't give a shit. Do that in every race. Don't care. As I stated with the Truck Series race, despite none of these lineups cashing, it's absolutely free money if we run to a wreck. So that's how that is. Thank you guys for listening, and I will see you guys in some Auto Club preview videos later in the week. See you then.